A secret memo was issued at the White House, where presidential power was mobilized just to squash a joke from Jimmy Kimmel. And when that secret is exposed, it's Don Jr. alias Panic that sparks a bigger explosion, uncovering the dark truth behind America's first family.
Interested in seeing what it was, but according to the story, in 2018, Donald Trump, who was at that time president of the United States, was so upset about my jokes that I made about him, he directed his staffers at the White House to call Disney to tell them to rein me in. The report says at least 2 calls were made from the Trump White House to, quote, convey the president's anger regarding Kimmel's monologues and jabs. In other words, President Karen demanded to speak to my manager.
It was the blunt revelation from host Jimmy Kimmel, exposing the secret of how the President of the United States used the power of the state to silence a joke. The White House, instead of addressing national issues, was busy calling an entertainment corporation to complain about jokes. This act not only shows pettiness, but is a flagrant abuse of power, turning the executive machinery into a tool of personal revenge. This behavior set a new standard for fragility and hypocrisy, and unsurprisingly, it has been passed down.
I'm not supposed to rely on a big 5 accounting firm, like one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. I can pay them millions of dollars. I rely on them to do accounting, but I'm supposed to know more than them.
This behavior, this habit of abusing power to settle personal grievances, has been passed down. If the father acted like a presidential Karen, demanding to speak with the manager of a corporation, then the son has taken absurdity to an entirely new level. Donald Trump Jr., the executive vice president of a billion-dollar empire, is standing on the witness stand in a $250 million fraud case. Faced with accusations of systematically inflating asset values, Don Jr., an executive vice president of the company, has chosen a shocking defense strategy, claiming he knew nothing. He argues that his job is business, not accounting, and that he paid top-tier experts to handle those details. He's telling the court and the world that he's too important to worry about the numbers, that his wealth allows him to outsource not just the work, but the oversight and ethics as well. This madness stems from the fear. When jokes hit too close to the fantasy world they've built for themselves, a world where they are untouchable geniuses who cannot be criticized.
He's so embarrassing. He's on the stand. He's testifying in this $250 million fraud trial, and he has to compliment. He said his father is an artist with real estate. Yeah, he's an artist. He's Vincent Van Gogh to jail with real estate. He also boasted that his dad is the father of hotel gyms. He said, maybe someone put a gym in a building somewhere, but no one did it at the scale of my father. He's saying that his father, the father of the hotel gym, is a guy who's never stepped inside one. Okay.
Even when faced with accusations of hundreds of millions in fraud, they continue to self-aggrandize. This is a contempt for the public, masked by false optimism. They believe that by repeating ridiculous lies about being artists or the fathers of things they've never used, reality will be forced to bow down. This blind pride is on full display even in the worst of circumstances, like a clumsy performance before the court.
I'm just proud of the toughest person I've ever met in my entire life for having the backbone and fortitude to go through this whole mess as uncomfortable as it's been. And I'm proud to have stood there every single second by his side in that freezing cold courtroom. He's an inspiration to me every single day, and he'll be...
This isn't the loyalty of a son. It's a carefully calculated performance. It's part of a PR campaign to turn a defendant in a financial fraud case into a martyr. Their family sentiment is just as staged and self-serving. It's displayed through public performances, where aggressive tweets are seen as the strongest form of support.
Hey guys, I'm here with your favorite president. We're cranking out a couple mean tweets at the courthouse. Why don't you read that last one, because I think it's pretty
Well, I think I'm going to put it out instead of reading it, but I know my son's doing very well on social media. I'm proud of him.
Stay tuned. It'll be a doozy.
Yeah, that's as close to a hug as Don Jr. is ever going to get from his...
Would a father be proud to see his children helpful in attacking his enemies? No, the Trump family is the only exception. This relationship is a transaction. They claim to be warriors for free speech, but they're the first ones to try to silence others, especially when they're the target of a joke.
Remember the Academy Awards? I said how he's the worst host in the history of the Academy Awards, and this stupid guy goes up, and just before the Best Picture of the Year, the show is almost over. They're waiting for the Best Picture of the Year. He gets up, and he says, and his wife said, please don't do it. Please, darling, don't go out. His manager said, don't do it. I have to do it. He goes out and reads my truth to the entire audience right before the best prime time, the Best Picture, And it said basically, he is the worst host of the history. He reads the whole thing, and then I think he said something like, ha ha ha, he thinks he bothers me, or some crap like that. I said, he's one of the dumbest human beings ever. He should have listened to his wife. What a dope.
This obsession is relentless, revealing a petty vindictiveness unbefitting of a leader. Free speech in their world is a weapon, not a principle. It's the absolute right to attack, insult, and belittle others, while any criticism aimed at them is seen as a criminal act.
Isn't that sweet? He's confused me with one of his sons again. I also want to point out the Oscars were more than 6 months ago. He's still stewing over this joke. He keeps bringing it up, which I don't mind at all. In fact, I love it. I just wish he would quote it correctly. I didn't say, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me.
While the country faces countless issues, this man is obsessed with a joke from half a year ago. Their panic might not just be over surface-level jokes, but from the fear that much darker secrets are about to be exposed.
How is it that my father can be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light? I'm trying to figure out how that's possible, right? But it's almost like they're trying to protect those for some reason.
This complaint inadvertently touches on a painful truth. The public's belief that there is a separate justice system for the ultra-wealthy. Meanwhile, running the country is dominated by spontaneous threats and bizarre priorities.
Gave Iran what he called the ultimate ultimatum, which is kind of like the final finale, but scarier. He enjoys making threats, and he loves attaching them to timelines, too.
I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks."
2 weeks. It's always 2 weeks. Always 2 weeks. For a guy whose catchphrase was "you're fired," no one has ever given more 2 weeks notice.
Foreign policy has been turned into a reality TV show, with empty threats and deadlines that never come. This detachment from reality is evident through bizarre priorities.
Secretary of Health and Human Sacrifice, RFK Jr., appeared with President Trump at the White House today to unveil his report on chronic disease that warns about the toxins found in ultra-processed foods like fried chicken, fast food burgers and fries, pepperoni pizza, soft drinks, ice cream bars, and so on. And Trump sat right next to him listening to all this. Listen, Trump's favorite food is toxins. His blood type is honey mustard. He's not gonna... I'm glad RFK is working on this. None of it is going to get done. When Trump finally figures out he's trying to take away his Doritos, mark my words, Bobby...
This ignorance and disdain extends even to how they view the working class.
Take care of our farmers.
Farmers? Is he under the impression they're growing these flagpoles? Because... what a jerk. I like the idea that, first of all, he just assumes the workers might be undocumented because some of them aren't white, and then says, they'll be checking you and destroying your lives. There is no they checking them. There is you checking them. You are the one rounding people up and destroying their lives, not the reporters.
In the end, this entire tragic comedy could be seen as a case study in human behavior.
Jane Goodall devoted a big chunk of her life to studying chimpanzees, wild chimpanzees. She spent years in the jungle observing them, learning about them, and in many ways, I feel like I've been doing similar work over the past 8 years, observing Donald Trump. No offense to the chimpanzees, but... And after a while, I don't know how long exactly, but Dr. Goodall spent most of her time watching them from a distance, began to interact with her fellow primates, and last night, that happened to me too. When Donald Trump gave a crowd in Indiana, Pennsylvania, yet another review of my performance...
And perhaps this is the most terrifying secret exposed. This case isn't just a ridiculous anecdote about a family. It's a warning. The true legacy they leave behind isn't buildings or slogans, but a blueprint for a new kind of politics, one where lies replace policy, where public institutions become personal weapons, and where the truth is attacked by those who can't bear it. They've normalized outrage, weaponized petty vengeance. The question for America's future isn't whether they can recover from these actions, but whether they will accept this as the new standard for power.